Essay number 28, 16 questions that will show you who you are and what you're meant to do. There's something you need to understand about self-discovery. It's not actually discovery at all. You're not going to suddenly uncover some hidden version of yourself that's been waiting in the wings. You're not going to have a breakthrough moment where you suddenly know exactly who you are and what you're meant to do. That's not how it works. Understanding who you are is about remembrance, not discovery. It's about becoming conscious of what has always been true. It's about connecting the dots that were already there, seeing the patterns that were always visible if you just stopped long enough to look. Think about every major realization you've ever had about yourself. Did it come out of nowhere, or did it come after a series of experiences, relationships, moments that suddenly clicked into place? That moment when you realized you were in the wrong career, wasn't it preceded by 1,000 small moments of dissatisfaction? That moment when you understood why you keep choosing the same type of partner, wasn't it built on a pattern you could suddenly see stretching back years? The real work of understanding yourself is simply becoming conscious of what is already true. And the best way to do that isn't through someone else telling you who you are. It's through asking yourself the right questions and having the courage to answer them honestly. Any psychological or spiritual guidance system that actually works doesn't try to implant ideas into your head. It gives you tools for introspection. It poses questions that make you reflect. It connects you to your own inner guidance system, your intuition, your essential self that knows things your conscious mind hasn't admitted yet. I'm about to share 16 questions with you. These aren't just random self-help prompts. These are questions that have literally changed the course of my life and the lives of countless others who've had the courage to answer them honestly. They're designed to bypass your ego, your defenses, your carefully constructed image of yourself, and get straight to the truth of who you are. Let's start with this. What and who is worth suffering for? Because you're going to suffer in this life. That's not pessimism, that's reality. The question isn't whether you'll suffer, but what you'll choose to suffer for. Is it worth suffering for your art, for your children, for a cause you believe in, for your own growth? When you know what you're willing to suffer for, you know what actually matters to you. Not what you think should matter, but what does matter deep in your bones. What would you stand for if you knew nobody would judge you? Right now, you're not standing for things because you're afraid of what people will think. You're keeping your opinions quiet, your beliefs hidden, your values compromised. But if judgment wasn't a factor, if you knew nobody would criticize or reject you, what would you stand for? What would you speak up about? What would you defend? That's your truth trying to emerge. What would you do if you knew nobody would judge you? This is different from what you'd stand for. This is about action. Would you quit your job? Start that weird business? Wear different clothes? Love differently? Live differently? The gap between what you do without judgment and what you're actually doing, that's the exact size of the prison you've built for yourself. Based on your daily routines, where will you be in 5 years? 10, 20? Not based on your dreams or goals or intentions, based on what you actually do every single day. If you keep living exactly as you're living now, where does that lead? This isn't about judgment, it's about math. Your daily actions are votes for the person you're becoming. Where are your votes taking you? Whom do you admire most and why? The people you admire are mirrors showing you parts of yourself that want to be expressed. You don't admire qualities you don't possess. You admire qualities you haven't given yourself permission to develop. That person you look up to, they're showing you who you could be if you got out of your own way. What do you not want anybody else to know about you? This is where your shame lives. And shame is incredibly informative because it shows you where you're not aligned with who you think you should be. The things you're hiding aren't just embarrassments. They're places where your true self and your performed self are in conflict. What you're ashamed of reveals what you value and where you feel you're failing to live up to those values. What are a few things you thought you would never get over while you were going through them? Why did they seem so insurmountable? How did you? This question is proof of your resilience. Those things that felt like they would destroy you, you survived them. That pain that felt permanent, it wasn't. You've already proven you can survive what feels unsurvivable. You've already demonstrated that your catastrophic thinking is usually wrong. You're stronger than you think, and your past proves it. What are your greatest accomplishments so far? Not what others would say are your accomplishments. What do you consider your greatest accomplishments? Did you survive something brutal? Did you change a pattern? Did you choose love when it was hard? Did you walk away when you needed to? Your definition of accomplishment reveals your true values. What would be too good to believe if someone were to sit down and tell you what's coming next in your life? This question reveals what you actually want but don't believe you can have. The life that seems too good to be true is the life you're afraid to want. But here's the thing. Someone is living that exact life right now. Someone who isn't more deserving than you, isn't more special than you. They just believed it was possible. Who from your past are you still trying to earn the acceptance of? Maybe it's a parent who was never satisfied, a teacher who said you'd never amount to anything, an ex who made you feel insufficient. You're still performing for someone who might not even remember you exist. You're still trying to prove something to someone who isn't watching. Whose acceptance are you still chasing? And what would happen if you stopped? If you didn't have to work anymore, what would you do with your days? This isn't about luxury or laziness. It's about understanding what you're naturally drawn to when survival isn't a factor. Would you still create? Would you help people? Would you learn? Would you build? What you do without external pressure reveals your internal drive. What are the 5 most common things in your daily routine, aside from the basics like eating and sleeping? Write them down. Actually write them down. Scrolling social media, watching TV, complaining to friends, working on projects, exercising. These 5 things are shaping who you're becoming more than any goal or intention you have. What do you wish those 5 most common things were instead? The gap between what you do and what you wish you did, that's where your work is. Not in achieving some distant goal, but in closing that gap between your actual daily life and the daily life you want. Because your daily life is your life. There's nothing else. If you really believed you didn't have control over something, you'd accept it as a matter of fact. What do you struggle to accept that you have no control over? What part of you makes you think or hope otherwise? We say we can't control things, but then we exhaust ourselves trying to control them anyway. Other people's opinions, the past, the future, death. If you truly accepted you had no control, you'd stop fighting. So what are you still fighting? And what part of you believes that if you just try hard enough, you can win an unwinnable battle? If you were to walk through your home and put your hand on every single thing you own, how many of them would make you sincerely feel happy or at peace? Why do you keep the rest? Your physical environment is a reflection of your internal environment. Those things you keep that don't bring you joy or peace, they're physical manifestations of mental and emotional baggage. The clothes that don't fit, the gifts from people you don't like, the expensive things you bought to impress others. What are you holding on to and why? Finally, and this one requires brutal honesty, what bothers you most about other people? What do you love most in other people? What bothers you most about yourself? What do you love most about yourself? Keep digging until you see the correlation. Because what annoys you in others is what you can't accept in yourself. What you admire in others is what you wish you could express in yourself. What you love in others is what you love in yourself. What you hate in others is what you hate in yourself. Other people are mirrors, and your reactions to them are showing you exactly who you are. These questions aren't meant to be answered once. They're meant to be returned to year after year as you change and grow, because the answers will change. The person who was worth suffering for 5 years ago might not be now. The things you were ashamed of might have become your strengths. The life that seemed too good to be true might have become your reality. But here's what's crucial. You have to answer these questions honestly, not with the answers you think you should give, not with the answers that make you look good, not with the answers that maintain your current self-image, with the truth. The uncomfortable, inconvenient, revealing truth. Because these questions aren't just showing you who you are, they're showing you the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be. They're revealing the space between your actual values and your performed values. They're exposing the difference between the life you're living and the life you want to live. And in that gap, in that space, in that difference, that's where your work is. That's where your growth is. That's where your becoming is. You already know who you are. These questions are just helping you remember. You already know what you're meant to do. These questions are just helping you admit it. The truth is already inside you, has always been inside you. These questions are just the keys to unlock it. So answer them. Not for me, not for anyone else, but for yourself. Answer them honestly, courageously, completely. Because on the other side of these questions isn't just self-knowledge, it's self-acceptance. It's alignment. It's the life you're meant to be living. The answers might surprise you. They might scare you. They might require you to change everything. But they will definitely, absolutely show you who you are and what you're meant to do. The question is, are you ready to remember?